Happy midweek, Highview. I'm thankful for the opportunity of these videos as a way to uncover just more and more of what we are studying on the course of Sunday mornings. Knowing that we're in 1 Thessalonians, that's where I'm going, in verses 9 and 10 in particular, to talk about the Thessalonians' response when they first followed Jesus. Paul says this of them: they turn to God from idols. One of the first things that we do is we follow Jesus and we put our faith and trust in His death and resurrection, is that we turn away from anything taking precedence, taking value above Him. That's ultimately what an idol is. It's anything that we value more than Jesus, anything that we desire more or have a stronger affection for than Him. But instead, as you read here, it says they turn from idols to serve the living and true God, and to wait for His Son from heaven, whom He raised from the dead, Jesus, who delivers us from the wrath to come. You know, I think over the last several years, the church has done a pretty good job of showing that just because you don't worship a golden calf or a statue, you still have idols in your lives. We worship things like sports or entertainment or comfort, or we could name a bunch of things. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about idols that are much deeper and much more deceptive. The source of the idols that dwell within our hearts themselves. You know, when I was a kid, growing up with my parents, there were certain kinds of things that really would put me in a bad spot behaviorally. If I had plans to do something, or I had something scheduled and I thought the day was going to go a certain way, and then you changed that on me because of a family event or whatever it would be, I tended to act out a little bit. I would sulk, I would kind of have a pity party, and even grow irritable or frustrated. And over time in this pattern, I noticed this happened a lot in my life, and I began to just say, hey, that's just what I struggle with. You know, hey guys, just bear with me. That's just my personality. Really lessening what it actually was. You know, it's really interesting as I've grown older that those patterns of thinking things are going to go a certain way and then not going that way, and my reaction emotionally haven't changed that much. I've definitely learned how to grapple with it, but the response is still in me. Today, you know, ever since I had my daughter, Tatum, she's almost 2 now, she has slept so well. Her rhythms of sleep and her patterns have just been on point. You could almost just time it on a calendar. But recently, she's decided that she's just going to abandon all that and kind of do whatever she wants. And as my schedule is flipped over and my plans and my rhythms of life are turned over, again, wanting to well up in me is that irritability, that frustration, that kind of woe is me attitude. But I know better now than to say it's some kind of abstract struggle. I know what it is. The Bible calls it sin. It's an idol within my heart that I used to shift blame for all the time. How many times have you heard someone, or maybe even yourself, shifted the blame away from your sin by saying things like that? Hey, it's just my personality, or that's just, you know, kind of how they are, or who they are. This is just my struggle. Not knowing that our personalities, just like everything else in us, needs to be sanctified as well. This reason for this emotional response in me ultimately is because I have what many have called source idols. It is a source idol of control. I really like to be in control. I like to control my schedule. I like to control what's going to happen. And when I don't, emotionally, I kind of get out of whack. But what I ought to know is that God is in control. He's in the heavens. He does as He pleases. And everything in my heart needs to come in submission to Him. This source idol of control is just one idol of the heart that manifests itself in that kind of emotion or behavior. But there are 3 others that most people agree on as well. One of them is the source idol of power. A lot of times, if you have an idol of power in your heart where you want to be able to influence others a certain way or exert a kind of authority and it doesn't happen, you will find yourself very angry or put out. There's the idol of approval. That source idol is all about us being concerned with what other people think of us, how they are perceiving us. And a lot of times that will manifest itself in emotional reactions of fear, of cowardice. And the last source idol is known as comfort. Comfort usually manifests itself in boredom and laziness. Interestingly, when we struggle with the idol of comfort, in order to not be in a position of stress or of high demands, we will neglect productivity even if that means boredom ensues. It's so interesting how our hearts are so deceptive. And sometimes it's hard to see, but I believe when we really begin to zone in, we really begin to think about God's word and who God is and who truly is in control and who truly is powerful, our hearts are turned away from the idols and they're turned towards the living God. I want to challenge you. As you see emotional responses in your own life and struggles or frustrations, don't just pass them off as struggles, but think about your heart. What are you believing? What are you failing to believe about God that would lead you into a sanctified or a righteous behavior that pleases Him? And when you identify that, whatever passage or promise it may be, dwell on it. Take it to the Lord in prayer and pray and pray and pray that the Lord would just destroy that idol that remains in your heart and to bring you into perfect pleasure and enjoyment of His presence. I promise you, Jesus died to save you not only from the penalty of sin and to forgive you of sin, but He died to save you from the power of sin, and He will enable you to overcome it. I'm praying for you, Highview.